up, everybody? Welcome to another stand up. And I'm going to kick us off today
Sick.
because it's Fun Friday. I was thinking about it today and I thought, this business thing can be hard. That's kind of been the theme. That's why we started the stand up to help people through this thing, watch us build, right? But something I can always remember is laughing till I cried on multiple occasions while we're on the way back from a meeting, a meetup, or just having a good old fashioned call.
You can tell me about Damon John or something, or my hairline or something.
Oh, well, there was a lot of that, but so I was watching television last night and I stumbled across a show. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Florida Man.
We watched a couple of this dude gets his arm bit off by the gator, man.
Episode 3. Did you see episode 3 with Randall Park?
No. I'm on. I think we only made it through episode 1, which is the alligator guy who like went on
Okay,
walkabout in the swamp.
skip to 3. I
All right, I
mean,
gotta watch that.
just watch 3. You'll thank me later.
All right,
Everybody
fine.
watching, you'll
We're
thank me
watch.
later.
We're
So
we're watching it. I just didn't get there yet.
it reminded me of the fact that you and I, take every single sales call. If you call or email Mike and Justin and book the meeting on the count, like we're taking the call. And that has put us in some very
Very interesting.
interesting situations
I
and
know
phone
that there's
calls.
one that comes to your mind right now, which
But
is
I have a top. What I thought we would do this episode is I wanted to get our top 3. And I'm pretty sure you and I have the same top 1. So starting from 3 downward, I'd love to bring the audience forward on the best worst sales calls or ideas we've ever heard. Because I do, as we say, we have to hear all your bad ideas. And we have heard some wacky ideas. So I'm going to pass it to you. Don't give number 1 because I'm pretty sure we both have the same number 1, unless I'm thinking of it. But what's like your number 3?
dude. I mean, you're putting me on the spot. You should have gave me some homework so I
You
could
all
like
right? You
really
want me
think.
to? I'll give my number 3. I could spit it back so you could think about it for a second.
Let me
I
think
can.
about it for a second because we have a bunch, but let me just think about it for a second. Tell me your number 3.
Okay, I'll give you my number 3. Yeah, it's a toss up 3 or 2. I actually really loved this founder. He was a really, really nice guy. I'll give you his story. We won't talk about his name or his company. No names, no companies. Very nice guy. Really great story. He got a DWI and he had this idea to create he wanted nobody to ever get a DWI again. This was his mission, and his idea was an alcohol delivery service. And so, which I thought was funny while we were on the call because it was like, oh, we don't want you to go out. We don't want you to drink and drive, so we'll bring the liquor to you. Except the business sort of devolved into him delivering liquor late at night to clubs that didn't have a
That
liquor
ran out.
license.
Yeah, that ran out
Yeah,
or didn't
yeah.
have any.
And so, of course, like we're going through this call, and like halfway through, was it you or me? We actually said, if you're trying to prevent people from drinking and driving, shouldn't you not be delivering your liquor to like
To a
some
location.
place, to a
Right.
location? His heart was in the right place. He had this idea. He wanted this business to work so badly, but there were so many signals that it wasn't going to work. There were lots of legal issues. It was in a state that it was very hard to get a liquor license. The business he was operating in a gray area. He was looking for investment. Nobody would touch it. And ultimately it wasn't the world. I think he will become a great entrepreneur. I really want to hear from him again someday. But this idea was one of those ideas where I was like, wait a minute, I think you're causing more people like, the last thing you should do after you ran out of the beer you brought to the restaurant is call this company for a bottle of Crown Royal before you get in the car and have to drive home again. So I thought that's my number 3.
That's definitely a good one. I also remember like the amount of work that we put into to try and validate the idea and like navigate local laws, and that was before AI. And like we were literally doing just manual research and trying to like I don't even know how we parsed through the law, but we managed to do it, and we managed to find like a bunch of roadblocks that just like you know
There was no way around it. We were trying to make the home delivery thing really possible. We ultimately, I think, landed on this idea of being able to help actual bars with liquor licenses when they were running low. But I think even that was almost impossible. You had to have like there's almost like a distribution cartel in these southern states. It was really a legal nightmare. The problem, but as with most businesses, the lesson there is the problem wasn't the software. The problem was making this business a reality in the way that he wanted to make it a reality, and it just wasn't happening. And so I think that can also commonly be a theme. People come to us with ideas and they want us to build software. And hey, we can build anything, right? And AI has made it so that it's never been cheaper, but we can't solve those problems. So that's where that idea.
So
But
I'll give you maybe my number three, which is we heard the bad idea, we built the bad idea. The guy spent a bunch of freaking money with us to just like go off the absolute deep end. And again, no names, not going to say the thing, but I will say like what the problem is that they were trying to solve, and I'll let you just unravel that one. But we were trying to turn people's garages into Amazon distribution centers. Yeah, I know you know
remember this
exactly what
one.
we're talking. And the most beautiful piece of vaporware to try and raise some money on an idea. Now, listen, like the idea is not that crazy far fetched. Like it's actually an interesting idea, which is the last mile, make a distribution center as close to the order as possible. Very interesting. But I think the individual that was at the helm of the idea was one of those that
Unhinged.
I've considered changing my home address over. You know what I'm saying? Just like one of those. And I think there are two or three of those that are in this category.
Yeah, yeah. I remember this idea very clearly. The project started as they needed a vaporware. It was openly discussed that they wanted a proper working, like a workable prototype that showed how this thing would work if they could figure out, of course, the assumption was they'd figure out this business model underneath, which was just not clear. And it gradually kept turning into, and I remember like they wanted it to connect to these spreadsheets, and these spreadsheets nobody could make heads or tails of them. Only they could. And they explained it to me. They explained it to another engineer. They actually had a technical resource that we're still in contact with that also was like, this doesn't work this way. I don't know what they were thinking. And we just ultimately like could not. And it was a very deep source of frustration because it was like they were speaking Greek and we were speaking like it was just nobody could figure out what they wanted to do, and ultimately everything went wrong. They did have the vaporware working, but these pivot tables that they wanted to run underneath it were just impossible to figure out. And ultimately the business model itself was not validated. Like how would you get like the idea that anybody's garage could be a warehouse was cool, but like there's just the logistics behind that were not to be figured out by us. And I don't think that ever went anywhere.
I've got a number two just came to mind.
Go ahead, go. You go.
Number two. Number two for me would be we were approached by a hardware slash software company.
This is my number two, I think also. Go, go, go.
We were approached by a hardware slash software in the, we'll call it the personal pleasure category.
Oh, yeah, this is my number two.
And so, again, no names, no titles of businesses. I actually think that this business went on to build this thing.
I
First
think
of all,
so too.
it's in a wild category. Like, dude, somebody please bring me a legitimate idea for software, for extended reality, for hardware, for something in the category of personal pleasure. And dare I say just the porn industry in general. Like, talk about probably the most innovative software industry, the one that's like trying to push the next level of what's possible. This one for me though was a little bit just too left field of what I could wrap my head around and where I was interested. Basically it would be, I can't say the name of the thing, but the name like perfectly represented what it was. But essentially it's a device that could like stick to anywhere and somebody else can control your masturbation experience.
How I
Like
would describe this is
gamification of your
it was a
member.
Ready Player One suit.
Right.
Or at the very least, it was a cod piece because I think the goal was to build the suit and to like feel like you were with OnlyFans models, and you could purchase remote services from them, and they would actually have another device that they performed this on that would like transmit to you.
I'll never look at this thing the same. I feel like this kind of looks like maybe what they were trying to make. All app controlled.
I'll tell you something. Yeah, he had described it as his girlfriend wouldn't even let him use it. That's how realistic it was. That was how he described it. And you know, it's very hard because anybody who knows me knows I don't have a great poker face at all. We kind of even talked a little bit about this, and there have been times on some of these calls when I've been holding in the laughter so hard that I think I'm going to burst into flames. And this was close. This was close. I was able to keep it together. You have a much better poker face for me. But of course, that is my number two also. That was my number
What's
two
funny
also.
for me, what I get a lot of enjoyment out of is popping that bubble.
Yeah.
Like I know you're
Like
like
when I got to go under the
squirming.
desk and I just
Yeah,
can't.
yeah, you gotta like adjust your sock or something like that. But dude, I love like I can tell from a mile away when you're just about to explode, and I like fully just take on the conversation with a straight face and ask all sorts of ridiculous questions and just push this idea along for the full 30 minutes. And in the last 5, I just burst your bubble. You have to go off camera.
That was it, dude. That one almost that we were, and again, I think it was one of those things where I go, I don't even know how to quote what I don't even know what they were asking for. They wanted a software company. I think they wanted a landing page of some kind. That was like sort of the beginning of it, but then they wanted a website to I don't we couldn't even really get to what they needed. I could give a different I could give a different number two though. That was another.
We're gonna have the same number one, and like for political correctness and for fear of being canceled, you're gonna present it. So, what's your other
I'll
number
present
two?
it. My other number two, it wasn't a, you know, it's a little bit of a toss up. It's another number two. It's another one of those in the personal. I don't want to say it's in the personal pleasure category, but I always say that actually, you know, I always joke with people that whole idea of launching a landing page and getting a sign up list of early users was I've never seen that really work for like a non
Except once.
except once, except this one time, except
Except
this
this
one
one
time.
time.
And again, customer had an idea for a dating website, was a total no name, got thousands of signups through an Instagram account that they had built. And of course, we were like, yeah, we'll build a dating website. And I go, dude, there's like a million dating websites. What could this possibly be? And of course, it comes out a couple of meetings later that it's dating, it's a website for cuckold relationships where couples who would like to or people who would like to basically watch. And again, it's one of those things where it's anytime you go into these calls and people are a little bit cagey about it, you know there's going to be something like, but again, you're taking every sales call, you know, like I said, you never know where a good idea is going to come from. But man, this was some idea. And of course it was like they had the three personas. There was the hot wife, there was the bull, and then there was the cuck, and it was like, let me tell you, when the idea finally transmuted, right? And like we saw the list, I was just like, you know, this is not for me. Like I was like, I can't be associated with this idea. Not to mention when you looked at the list, it was as you could have imagined. There were a lot of people who were looking for somebody's wife to sleep with. There was
Of
not so
course.
many people on the other. There was
Of
not so
course.
many people on the other side of this thing. But man, again, like one of those moments where you just like you pop into a call, you think you're going to come into like a regular idea, and where does the lead come from, right? Where does the lead come from? That was a good one, and so that's a number two for me. That's a close second to the haptic suit. And of course, there's number one.
Dude, number one will I will that's has stained my brain. And it's one of those where I carried that conversation on for the literal comedy of like where would this come in intersect in our lives again in the future. But I think I dragged that conversation out for 45 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe longer than we needed to cancel that call. I think I put you off camera twice in one call.
Yes, like and then they caught me. That was one time they
And
fully
she
caught me. Burst.
called you out
I
on
burst
it.
out. I burst out laughing and I could not stop. it was just, yes, I literally would have combusted. Like, there was no way that I could not. And again, like, it was just hysterical. So I'll give this one, that's why it's Florida, man. Makes some
Makes
sense,
sense.
because this
Right.
was, of course,
Makes
where
perfect.
else in the world would this have come from, right? And we get a call. It's from somebody who is looking. We build software, but for some reason we get calls from people who are like looking for, influencer type advice. I think they were looking to potentially build their own website because they felt that their content, they wanted a place to house their content. They were concerned with being canceled. Again, more kind of red flags. But as the conversation drove on, she was talking about her content, and it was, I drum circles on the beach. She's talking about playing didgeridoo on the beach in drum circles, and she's like dancing on camera. And these were some of the first times where I just burst out laughing, but I managed to hide. I managed to like get off camera, hit the control D really fast. You're like literally hitting me with messages in the side, and you're deadpanning the whole entire time, like talking to her about
Flat
how this
face.
could, how to edit the content properly, the tools that you use. You're totally respectful about this. Like, it was not. And of course, she was very concerned that she was like, I felt like her content was somehow suited for OnlyFans, right? And of course, you were like, well, this seems like you could have a YouTube channel, right? She had crystals. She was like, she had crystals and all sorts of like
Yeah.
esoteric type of things,
Yeah.
you were talking gemstones with her for a minute,
Right.
you have, yeah, and so it just seemed like a weird call. We knew, well, you recommended Squarespace. I think it wasn't, it's not the kind of thing that we were gonna build. The laughter happens. She catches me laughing, and I think I come up with some kind of excuse. And then right before the call ends, she goes, I have one more question. And so this is like, now we're just sitting here with bated breath, right? And she says in very lewd terms, that she has this
Straight
ability.
quote. This is a quote.
This is a quote, and I think you might just, maybe you just bleep me, like
Right.
you just bleep me,
I don't know how to do
when
that, but we'll figure it out.
yeah, yeah, we'll figure it out. She says, I can light a cigar with my pussy, just like that. And of course, in this moment, I don't laugh, and you don't laugh either. We're
I was
just,
like, wait, what?
right, mouth the gate. We're about to get off the call. We're just like, we were like practically in tears. I knew we were going to talk about it, and then she just drops that, just like that. And you and I are like,
How does
and
that
then
work?
yeah, that's just you. Like, you said, you go anatomically. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
you like
yeah,
come up with like the perfect thing, and I'm sitting here thinking, I cannot believe this is happening right now. And you say anatomically, and then we figured out that obviously the way it was said, you were thinking that the
yeah. Like her, like
cigars in her mouth and the lighter, somehow the lighter is being operated by that region, right? And I'm like, then she explains, no, no, it's the other, like, yeah, she's like, I do this, and it's the other way around. You could use your imagination out there for this one. And of course, you finally, I think, said, you go, well, I think that would belong on OnlyFans. And you just like kept it like that would belong on OnlyFans. I it was, sometimes you hate getting on. Everybody hates an unqualified lead, but I love a really unqualified lead. So, like, I think to myself, like, these things in real life, it felt like that show, It's Florida Man. And we get a few of them every year. They come through, and there's no telling how. Or I do think the biggest culprit of this might be Craigslist, as you would expect. You get leads. We definitely, sometimes leads come through. Not that we market on Craigslist, but I think the people who send them our way are using our Craigslist people, and we end up on a list, and with some referral sources, and then sometimes they just come through like completely randomly. That's the number one, dude. That one was,
I think that will always be the number one.
that will always be the number
Like
one.
for
I
something
mean,
to top that is going to be just so astronomical I couldn't even imagine.
oh yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, I'll give you like some other low contenders, honorable mentions. Back in the day, this is before Cause of a Kind. I worked for an agency where a guy's idea, he was trying to sell bottled air from different parts of the world. And of course, like, the question was always like, well, how do you guarantee that that airs from there? He goes, well, we certify it. And I go, well, with like a piece of fucking paper, like it was just like it was like again the most bogus idea. Like you picture like this guy accidentally like opening the jar, like actually like flying to like Tel Aviv to like just like with these mason jars trying to like bottle it up and sell it. And I'm just like, it sounded like such a scam. Other honorable mentions from the Web3 era. Remember, there was a play to earn guy.
Mm-hmm.
And about halfway through the call, he was talking about how once again he was in a very fancy place, Soho House, whatever, and he was talking about this play to earn game. And I think I said it kind of sounds like a Ponzi scheme, and he goes, "It is." And I was like, and again, like another one of those, like I guess we probably don't want to build this. Like it was Web3 was full of things like that for
Full of
sure,
that.
full of that type of stuff. I mean, if we could dig through the old calls from the Web3 era, we probably could dig up another couple of golden honorable mentions there. But man, what's my point is it's Friday. I wanted to rehash some fun. I wanted to say that when times have been hard and you need nothing more than a sale, sometimes one of these is good for the soul, and it just gets you through this experience. So leave your best sales calls in the comments.
Yeah, your Friday scaries. I want to hear all about those. I'm sure people have doozies out there. I think, but this is definitely a reality of running a service based business. I would assume kind of any business, like any business that is person to person, and you're gonna come into contact with people with characters that are not necessarily qualified for what you do, but I think, as you can tell, the way that I handle that is everybody is a potential for an increase in luck, increasing your surface area in luck. And like, I treat every call with the same optimism. I treat every person that we come into contact with the same amount of respect. I think anybody that has an idea that is willing to take the next step and go meet somebody who can help them build it has courage. And even if it's like a little bit of delusional confidence, I know what it takes to try and build an idea from nothing to something and then try to put the pieces together to try and build something. And I give people credit. I think some people have wild, wacky ideas that, like, even for them to roll out of bed and say it out loud, it takes courage. And so, I just approach this as a salesman would. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Everybody starts with 100% with me. What I think is really funny about you and the opposite is everybody starts at a 0 with you, and you got to earn your legitimacy. And so the balance between the two of us, again, continues to be the secret sauce of our darling scenario over here. But dude, at some point we should do an episode on top 3 best client profiles. I think that would be helpful not only for us and kind of cathartic to try and find like our ideal customer persona, but also I think for others that are watching, like, the legitimacy of the things that we build in the world, and what are those profiles of those founders, and how do they charge after their dreams. I think that would be a really cool episode as well, so maybe we'll prepare that one for next week. And that to me is in the vein of like yesterday's conversation, which is like, what is the definition of great?
Yes.
We've been talking a lot about that. Like, what does good look like? What does great look like? That was a little bit of yesterday's. That was a little bit of Wednesday's conversation. So that's been a theme. I think that's a nice way to round out the week. Maybe next week we frame a little bit of like, what does great look like in our business? Because we have lots of examples. And, maybe that'll be the theme going forward. But dude, thanks for the comedy. It's our reality. I can't make this shit up.
You didn't
No, I
expect
didn't
that.
at all. I can't make this up. These are real calls, and we have hundreds of these types of calls. Just some just completely stand out. Others I'd have to like go and look back in the archives. But man, good episode.
Good episode.
Hilarious. See you tomorrow.
See
Or
you
Monday.
tomorrow. Monday.
Peace.
Monday.